So first of all, hi, I'm Chloe. I wrangle the community and content team over at littleBits, and it's such an honor to be here. This is so inspiring. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for kind of giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about my experience running the littleBits community. Full disclosure, I'd never done this job before joining littleBits, so I'm probably like the least qualified person to talk about it. But something I want to talk about is something very personal, actually, that connects a little bit the dots of how I decided to join littleBits and work in communities. And I titled my talk, Kindness is Magic, and it's no accident there's this like cheeky Instagram kind of picture when it's like filters were cool and you would like take pictures of your shoes and you were so cool doing that. But yeah, like at the time I used to work at Mozilla. And it was, there's no accent that I'm wearing like fox socks. And it was actually kind of a difficult time for me. If any of you has been outspoken on the internet, and being a minority, a woman or a person of color, you might know that comes a lot of times with harassment. So it was a period of my life where I got really harassed online, anything from death threats to kind of least harmful, but still pretty hurtful kind of comments about my work ethics and so forth. And I'm not going to go into details about that story, but what happened to me was I went through that, and it was really terrible, actually. But something magical emerged, which was, after that happened, my community, people that, worked with me, whether it was in my gaming community or my, women tech community, started sending me emails. Like, my inbox was, like, full of these emails of people just saying how supportive they were and expressing, empathy and an incredible amount of kindness. And I say this because, sometimes we kind of forget the importance, the important role we have as community organizers, as members of a community, which is that we are there to create those incredible positive experiences and to support each other. And we do live in this time, unfortunately, here in the US, and if the news from Europe yesterday, where there's a lot of hateful speech and a lot of bigotry, and I'm an immigrant in this country. I feel kind of unwelcomed these days. There's a lot of hate, and even although we're not in politics, we're in like the tech community. We do have that incredible power within our hands as community organizers. This power and responsibility of creating spaces of kindness and spaces of love and spaces that are positive, and help people create productive and inspiring projects. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my story with littleBits. And again, when I started, I went out of this kind of negative experience, and I talked with Ayub there, the CEO of littleBits. She was like, oh, we have this kind of community we want to start. There's like not so many people there. We want you to do it. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'd love to kind of build design a kind and thoughtful community. So I'll share with you some of the lessons I've learned through that process, and hopefully that's helpful to you. So before we start, who here knows what littleBits is? Raise your hands. Awesome, many people. Okay, good. So for those of you who don't, it's a modular library of electronic building blocks for inventions large and small. They look like Legos. They're color-coded. They're really easy to use. They snap together with magnets. And I'm going to show you a video to start with. Let's see if this plays. So that's littleBits, and if you haven't heard of them and haven't played with them, please talk to me so we can fix that. So in terms of our community, so we've been around for about 5 years. I joined the company about 2 years ago, and our community at the time, I think, was about 3 30,000 people on our newsletter, and since then, and we're sold mainly in the US and the UK. And since then, we are in 45 different countries. We have 300 global chapters, 2,000 global events just happened this last year, 3,000 schools, I can go on, 12,000 educators, 150,000 community members on our site, and I'm just kind of showing this just to show that, like, in 2 years we've kind of scaled incredibly, and it's been kind of a challenge to keep the community being really kind and thoughtful and an awesome place to be in. So here are some of the things that I kind of learned in that process. So. Well, I'm going to use just animated GIFs of like inventions made with littleBits throughout my presentation. So, when you guys saw the video of littleBits, what was one of the characteristics that you thought the product was kind of showcasing? It was simple, cute, yeah, very cute, easy to use, open-ended. Creative. It's great for kids. And it's fun. Thank you so much. So it's fun. And that was one of the things that I kind of noticed upon joining the team. I was like, this is so fun. And the people who worked in the team, at the time we were just 20 people, were so incredibly fun and quirky. So one of the things I always say when you want to build a community from scratch is talk to the staff, talk to the peers that are part of the product. And, this is like a little silly thing we made with our colleagues. Like, we do these pranks all the time. When I talk to people, like when I joined the team, they were all like that. They were quirky and fun and very humble and scrappy. So those were the characteristics as I thought, about designing the community that I kind of started with. Everyone is a community manager. So on that kind of topic, this is one of my favorite projects. Is this guy and his dog Gilda. They have all these projects on our invention page. But the idea here is that something I stole from Mozilla. Actually, I overheard from Mitchell Baker, the chairman of Mozilla, when I think it was at Mosfet, somebody was complaining that they don't have time to do community management. And she kind of, with her distinct wit, told them, like, look, here at Mozilla, everybody's a community manager, no matter what your title is. And I really have taken that ethos to heart. And upon working with littleBits, with the staff there, and with our community, our first community, that was my motto. Everyone is a community manager, no matter what your title is. If you're into engineering or sales or something else, you are a community manager. And something that I encourage you to do when you organize hackathons, everybody that's part of the team is a community manager, even the community themselves. They have that role. They're responsible for the community. And on that line, everybody is an inventor. And I have a mentor there in parentheses. So inventor, like our platform is all about inventing and creating. And, again, you can be an organizer, but you have to kind of live the product. You have to be an inventor to make things, kind of put your money where your mouth is. And once you are over that kind of stage, kind of coming again back to kind of thoughtfulness and building a positive community space, leveling up to being a mentor. So taking those opportunities to kind of teach others, as other people said also in their previous talks, teach others what you know. So who here has mentored somebody? They have taught them somebody in code, or many people? Great, almost all of you, because you guys are so awesome. So one of the things that happens when you mentor someone is what? Like, you really feel protective about them, right? You're like, this is my mentee. I care about them. So when you build a community of mentors, essentially what happens is you build a community of people who care for each other, and that really helps the community be very healthy and also sustainable in the future. So you don't have to kind of, as a community organizer or a hackathon organizer, kind of do all the work of mentoring other people. Another thing I kind of always say, and I discovered it early on in kind of my journey with littleBits, was that you have to kind of go out of your way to welcome the noobs. So if you work in a startup, let's say you find yourself working in a startup in a few years, one of the most common actually things that we oversee is that how new people are to our product. because it just has been around for a few years. So most people just like are new to it. They're noobs. And anybody here, I would say all of us have been noobs in some point of our life. And one thing we know is that you're very shy when you're a noob. You just like come in and you're like, oh, what do? I don't know. Who are all these other people? So it really pays back to go that extra mile of welcoming the noobs and making that a habit in your community. So not only you kind of being like, hello, welcome everybody, blah, 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 if you're new, but also kind of empowering the people within your community to always, always keep welcoming the new people and, saying again and again, even if it sounds repetitive, kind of the code of content, the rules of, joining and making that a very friendly space. Another kind of along those lines, another thing that I have learned from this kind of experience and also before kind of working with Mozilla and the Mozilla community is the importance of co-designing. And co-designing can be kind of broadly defined as this experience where you bring your community in the design of your product. And if you're just doing community building, I would say bringing your community in the development of that greater kind of group and where it's going and its goals and its mission. And actually it's a hard thing to do. It's a bit of a buzzword, people use it a lot, but it's a really hard thing to do because you have to be very consistent, and when you develop a product, you have kind of other timelines to work with, so it becomes challenging to work with community. But doing simple strategies are kind of having a frequent check-in points with a committee within the community that kind of gives you feedback on your product, doing a lot of user research and a lot of workshops, co-designing workshops, especially in the beginning of developing that product. And one of the things co-designing does, as you can imagine, is gives agency to the people within your community. So again, it becomes the product, the community becomes something they really care about, they have invested in, and they will do anything to kind of keep it positive. This is one of probably my favorite part about my work, and it's something that emerged kind of organically. So we have this Slack channel called The Moment, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this. It's the moment, when somebody kind of invents something for the first time, and you see that spark in their eyes, and that's the moment where you're like, oh, this is so worth doing. All this kind of stress going through organizing this hackathon is so worth it for this kind of moment of seeing somebody being so empowered. And all of you probably have also kind of lived it when you first went to a hackathon. And I want to show you a little video, but what I want to talk about here is the importance of celebrating that moment, because it happens and we see it and people feel it and they go back home and they're like, oh man, that was amazing. But kind of, again, going the extra mile within blog posts, social media, just celebrating those moments, capturing them, telling that story, so more and more people will get inspired to join. Cool. Yeah. Isn't that awesome? I love my job just looking at that video. It just makes me smile. So it's actually a really good habit. I recommended having a Slack channel called The Moment. It makes everybody kind of share those moments happening from, your event. And it's just, if you ever have like a bad Monday or something, you just go and look at that channel and you're like, yeah, life is good. It's okay. It's all going to be fine. Another thing I just want to talk about is the importance of teaching constructive feedback. And this sounds like your teacher talking probably, but it's one of the pitfalls I see most in events, which is we kind of, we have like hackathons, we kind of go through these like quick rounds of feedback and people say, oh, this is cool or this is nice, but maybe some people are like, oh, this sucks. But what I've noticed is it's actually very hard for people to articulate feedback. And especially in a situation like an event where you are around people you haven't met before, people are really shy or very rude. It's like one of the two extremes. So it's okay. I kind of actually like hate the very nice people more than the rude people, because it's just like there is no like benefit into just like saying to somebody, oh, this looks so nice. It's like, no. So I would like encourage you to teach people within your event how to give feedback. People don't know how to do that necessarily. So there are simple strategies to do that. One I particularly love is a strategy the MIT Lifelong Kindergarten uses. It's very simple. It uses red, green and yellow post-its. Red being the things that are like could be improved, green the things that are awesome, and yellow things that are confusing. And you can hack that to your to what works for you. I sometimes have blue for suggestions. But having a really structured kind of time for feedback, constructive feedback, will really kind of make much more meaningful the the experience for the people participating. Okay, this is like one person is gonna laugh on this maybe, but nobody knows who this person is. I'm old. Yeah, it's Tom. See, thank you, people born before 2000. So don't be that guy. So it's, again, I wanted to talk about kindness, but sometimes we go to the other extreme, We are this person that's always around and it's like, hi, nice to meet you. Hi, it's like on all the comments, it's like, hi, welcome, hi, your project is so cool. Don't be that person. Why? So it's good to be positive and kind of welcome people in the community, but do it in a meaningful way. And you don't want to be don't want to be a creeper. You don't want to be always the same person that kind of like says the good stuff. What you want to do is be a matchmaker. Connect people in the community with each other that have common interests and that will give meaningful feedback to each other. So yeah. Sorry if you're that person. You're very nice. I used to be that person, so no judgment. But yeah. So another point, I know there are talks about this here as well. I think it's a topic many people are interested in these days. Diversity, it's really important. So I don't want to just say like, diversity is really important in your event, et cetera, et cetera. No, you have to rock diversity. We are at a point where there is no excuse for your event not being diverse. There is no excuse. Like, it is something that you have to work on. You have to kind of, reach out to people to be, like represented within your event. You have to really put an effort in it. And it will be, it will be all the change in terms of like how positive and healthy your community will be. Yeah, cool. I feel like we could give a whole talk around that, but I think you guys all are on the same page and know the point. But I kind of want to conclude a little bit my talk with it's kind of one slide about fighting for your community and how important that is. So as a lot of you kind of graduate, and a lot of you are going to get jobs as community managers, community directors. It's an industry that's really growing, and it's an industry that's growing actually particularly within products and brands. And I know that firsthand in littleBits, like the community team is like one of the most important teams within the company, and we work very closely with product, with marketing, and so forth. So one of the things that might happen, it's kind of an abuse of that kind of grassroots concept of community. So I just want to encourage you to kind of look out for that. There was an article that came out earlier this year, really made me roll my eyes. It was about Lululemon. Love their products otherwise, but they have this concept now in their stores where like their sales associates are called community managers and educators, and I was like, no, that is like it's such an inauthentic way to kind of take advantage of a grassroots concept. So just like keep an eye out of that, and again, remember your job as community organizer is to be the gatekeeper of your community and kind of make sure you always have the community good as your first priority. And finally, owls. So yeah, many people again said that before me, but always keep in mind, it's super important as you're doing this job to kind of give back and see, how you can mentor somebody, how you can, as it was said before, lend your privilege. I love that idea. How you can invite somebody who is maybe not familiar and not part of the scene and maybe doesn't feel cool or comfortable to come to a hackathon to be part of it. And yeah, make something meaningful. At littleBits, we always say we invent the world we want to live in. So I would like to invite you to do that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alyssa. I'm helping organize YCP Hacks at York College. In regards to women in tech, they say that there's like an issue in the pipeline for getting women in tech. Do you have any idea where you think that issue might be?
I strongly disagree with that. So I think it's just like the way it has been framed in our culture all this time. Like we just have somehow, I don't know, like in the 80s, this pivot happened and people expect other things from women than men. I don't understand why. But no, I strongly disagree. I don't think there is a problem in the pipeline, not at all. I think that it is our job to make sure that we have more women representation in tech events and make them more visible, so more kind of women and minorities kind of join the community. But I think there's a lot of talent out there, and it's the job of the tech community to hire them. Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, so one question that I have is I've noticed that there are a lot of implicit things that make people feel excluded from attending hackathons that organizers aren't cognizantly doing. But I noticed with MLH, sometimes we bring, well, all the time, we actually bring feminine care products to hackathons. And that was resoundingly successful. And so what are some other specific strategies you think show people of all kinds that they're welcome at hackathons?
I think it starts by kind of opening up that conversation to different voices within your community. So every community is actually unique. I can give you some things that have worked for me or for my community. Definitely having a good code of conduct that you have, again, co-designed within your community that feels inclusive, and making sure you kind of repeat and repeat and repeat that code of conduct so everybody's aware of it. Other things that just making people feel comfortable, like gender-neutral bathrooms or daycare, things like that we don't necessarily kind of think of. But yeah, I would start by just reaching out to your community and inviting those voices to be part of that conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hi. It's okay. It happens to me all the time, man. Don't worry.
Hello.
Hi.
My question's a little bit different. I think littleBits is a really interesting, way of actually having people with a less technical background to learn how to really use hardware efficiently. I'm just wondering, as a lot of us are affiliated with makerspaces at respectively our universities, is there any program that littleBits currently has to have us either help, other non-technical students learn this, how to use littleBits, or even help nearby high schools or middle schools?
Definitely. So we have actually one of probably the programs I'm most proud of is our global chapters and school chapters program. So basically working with makerspaces around the world and schools to help them kind of get a library of littleBits and integrate that into their programming or their curriculum. So definitely talk to me afterwards, and I can tell you more about it. Or if you guys go to our site on community, you'll find more information about how to be part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Oh, that's loud.
Hi.
My name's Stephanie. I'm working with Delta Hacks this year. I was kind of wondering some advice for how to engage your community, because I feel like whenever we have code nights or whatever, it's always the same people that come out, and when I try to promote it, people are like, that's really lame, I don't want to spend my afternoon coding. So what is your advice on that?
That's a great question. So I have one of my very good friends in New York. Her name is Ida Benedetto. She runs this like super cool kind of like secret events all around New York City. And we are very good friends, but like she never invited me. And I was like, what's wrong with you? But what I realized what she was doing, she had this really good strategy of like kind of making sure she has this new group of people every time in her events, which was she would ask every person to bring somebody from their group that hadn't been to their event before. And if you failed to do that, you couldn't come to the event. So I think little strategies like that work. Also, personally, I do a lot of one-on-one outreach. So if I see the same people are showing up again and again, I start reaching out to the people that don't show up and kind of ask them, how can I make this easier for them? So it is work on our side as organizers to make sure not the same people show up again and again, and also task that to the people who show up again and again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm McKenna from Dub Hacks in Seattle. I actually work with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America.
Awesome.
And I teach a Google CS First programs to my kids, so I'm a club guru. But I wondered if littleBits had some resources for something like the Boys and Girls Clubs if I wanted to take that to our club tech.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a huge community of educators, actually, and a lot of lesson plans on our website. And then we do a monthly community call for educators that you're more than welcome to kind of attend.
Thank you.
Thank you.